How's it going, everyone? It is Drago, and we're back with another episode of the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest anime, episode 3, which this episode covers chapters 8 through 11 of the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest manga. And as we're talking about the manga stuff, I've kind of been doing this with every episode so far. What is the differences in this episode compared to the manga? First off, the only thing that was removed was there was a undressing scene with Toka or Ferris in the manga, which that pretty much got removed completely from the anime. And that one's a bit more obvious as to why they removed it, probably more or less because of sexual content. Otherwise, it's pretty much faithfully adapted the rest of the manga. Actually, it kind of expanded certain sections, mainly in the fights that happened in these chapters, which perfectly, as I mentioned about the fights, I'm just going to talk about them right away because they were probably my favorite part of this whole episode. The way that they expanded out these fights was really cool. Like, just the first fight against Diabolos is so well animated. I think that generally was probably my favorite part of the whole episode. It's just their first clash is so cool. The comboing between Gray, Urza, and Natsu is so nice. Almost in a way kind of reminds me of their teamwork in fighting a Lullaby or Hades. I like that you get to see a little bit of everything in this episode because you get Gray using the Devil Slayer magic once again. The way that they animated that this time around is a little bit different than how it was in the past. I think maybe the ice color is just slightly different from what it used to be. They also gave him like an aura now, which he didn't really have before. Love to see that power up. It's so cool whenever Gray uses that. The manga kind of glosses by it, but like the anime literally has him freeze this whole ocean practically in an instant. Love that attack is named Silver, which obviously is for his dad, but also that's like exactly what happened at the Sun Village. So you get Wendy using Dragon Force, not very much, but she does it for one attack, and it looks pretty much about the same as Dragon Force has in the past, and she's still got like a pink aura around her. Even when they're split up, all these fights still look amazing. Urza versus Kyra is really well done. We haven't really had a full-on swords battle since like Urza versus like Kagura, and then Natsu's fight. I just kind of love him like punching the dude, and then like his hand like bounces back because it's this armored dragon scales, and he's like, crap, I can't punch this. It kind of reminds me of him fighting like Gajeel a bit, with him using the iron dragon scales on him. They did shy away from some blood because they had Natsu do the punch and some blood came out. I'm kind of curious as to how gory 100 Year Quest could potentially be in the future, because people do get beat up, and obviously the past versions of Fairy Tail have kind of censored blood pretty heavily. We don't usually get it very often, so kind of interesting that you initially get him punching and some blood comes out. Overall, I absolutely loved the fights that were happening in this episode. I loved how they were animated. They all looked great. This is still very fluid compared to older Fairy Tail. And obviously by the end of this episode, you get everyone defeated. And I feel bad for Natsu, man. He gets shoved onto a ship and motion sick once again. So that's like a returning gag that once again comes back. And you could tell he's so annoyed. He's like, I get motion sick and I'm a dragon slayer, but you don't get motion sick and you're a dragon slayer too. And they're both staying on the ship. I would have liked his motion sickness to be like a different face, because they kind of changed how it looked a little bit, and I don't maybe love it as much as like past motion sickness gags with him. Now kind of moving on to some bits about this episode that I just really liked. Very fitting that I'm about to talk about Gajeel, because I literally just made a video talking about Gajeel, so check that out if you haven't already. It's a really great video. I've always really liked this scene where Gajeel's in the investigation and Levy's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't try and stalk Toka. This feels wrong because, you know, Fairy Tail, we're all family. Like, why are we stalking one of our own family members? And this is the part of the scene I absolutely love, when Gajeel says, like, but you treated me like crap when I joined the guild. And they don't show it in the episode itself of, like, how they treated Gajiel pretty terribly when he first joined the guild. It is in the manga, just a few panels like behind them. I don't think it's entirely necessary for it to make that moment work, but I do quite love that he was kind of mad, like, oh, we can't check to see if she's a good person, but like, you can treat me so terribly and you beat me up. But the whole Levi, Gajiel, Juvia investigation, that stuff I think is all still very fun. I don't think this part is exactly the most thrilling or exciting to talk about. I just think it's kind of cool to see the guild once again, because obviously you have Jalal in his investigation and he's going to different guilds. So he went to Blue Pegasus and he's talking to pretty much everyone in Blue Pegasus, which I don't think any of them are really wearing dramatically different outfits than they were. And then you get Mermaid Heel, and sadly you only get Kagura. It would have been cool to see additional members of Mermaid Heel, but I think that's the part where I'm just like, oh, it's cool to see that stuff once again. I loved when they're getting this tour of the water temple, learning about all of the things that the water dragon god does. And they're like realizing like, oh, he's actually a really nice person. And like the whole group is just like crying about, you're such a great person. We can't possibly hurt you. Like, how are you so nice? That moment I think is super cute and funny. Yeah, overall, another great episode. The fights are looking amazing so far. Everything's still very awesome. What are your guys' thoughts about this episode? Leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and this is Drago signing out.